Hey there, welcome back to another video with the Math Doc. We're going to be talking again about functions, asking the question, is it a function? And in order to answer that question, we will always have to look at the domain and range of our function. So if you haven't seen the previous videos on functions, you can check out that playlist. And we will get started right here. So if you recall, the definition of a function is a relation or a pairing between inputs and outputs. Recall the inputs come from our domain and our outputs come from our range. And so if we use the variable x to define our domain, our range is f of x, a function of x, or sometimes also y. So again, we have a pairing between our inputs and our outputs. And one of the things we've learned is that we can have a single output with many different inputs. So we can have different x's going to the same y. However, for each input, we can only have one output. So we can only have one output for each input. And that makes sense. We want something to function in the way so that if we put in an input, we know what the output is going to be. There's no ambiguity. We can't have two different y's for the same x. And again, this is explained in detail and defined in the previous video. Here we'll just look at some examples, and these examples are all here on the screen. Let's go from left to right. So let's look at this first function here, which is shown graphically as this curve here, right here. And in this case, we can use what we call the vertical line test. What does that mean? We can put through our function, the graph of the function, vertical lines at different places, and we can see that at every one of these places, it cuts the function or the graph of the function in only one point. So it passes, okay? It passes the vertical line test. What is our domain? Well, the domain here on the x line is from, it looks like -7, right? -7 here to +7 here. So domain we have is -7 to 7. And our range here looks like it's from about 5 to -5. Okay, so this is our range. So range is from about -5 to 5. It's not exact. So this first one is a function, and let's circle the ones that are functions in green. Okay, what about our second one? In our second one, we have a few ordered pairs. So we don't have a curve or a curved line that shows us the function. Rather, we have a set of points, and we can use the ordered points to see if we have a function or not. So let's start with this top one and go clockwise. So the top one is 5, right? X equals 5 and y equals 5. That's the first point. The second point we have 7. Second point is 7 and 4. The third point again is 7 and 2. We already see that we have a problem here. We have the same x here, 7, but two different y's, right? 4 does not equal 2. The next point here is 5 and 1, right? X is 5, y is 1. And we have 3 and 2 with 2 x. So these are the x's and these are the y's, 3 and 2. And finally, 3 and 4. So we have a few points here that have the same x's. We have here 2 points with 7 as x, yet we have 2 points with 5, and 2 points with 3. So this is definitely not a function. We could also use the vertical line test here. For instance, if we pass a line here, we see we hit 2 points that are in our function. So this is not a function, and let's circle this one with the color red to identify non-functions. What is our next one? We again have a set of points, a list, and we can write what these points are. Let's start on the left with the first one here, right there. That is minus 2 for x and 1 for y. The next one over is, oh, sorry, that was minus 3. The second one is minus 2 and 4 for y. Then we get minus 1 and 1. 0, right? X is 0 here. And minus 2. For x equals 1, we have the value for y is 2. And finally, for this last one, we have x is 3 and y is 4. So in this case, our domain includes the numbers 0, 1, 3, minus 1, minus 2, and minus 3, right? We can write this as 0, 1, 3, minus 1, minus 2, minus 3. This is our domain. And our range is minus 2, 1, 2, and 4. So 0 goes to minus 2. 1 goes to 2. 3 goes to 4. Minus 1 goes to 1. And 1, we said 1 goes to 2. And minus 2 goes to 4. So there are 2 numbers that go to 4. And minus 3 also goes to 1. So we have 2 x's that go to 1 and 2 x's that go to 4. But that's okay, because we can have multiple x's going to the same number in the range. So multiple numbers in the values in the domain go to the range. So this is a function. So let's circle that in green. What about this fourth graph here? Here again we have a curve, but here we can use again the vertical line test. Let's do that. I'm going to put a line around this so it's clear. Vertical line test. And what we see is, if we pass our line, say here at positive 2, we hit the curve in 2 points, which means this is not a function. We have the same x equal 2, going to 2 different values. So this is not a function. Let's identify that with our red pen. And finally, we have another curve here. And again, we can use vertical line tests in all sorts of places to show that we always only hit 1 point on our curves. So this is a function. This is a function, and we can identify it with the green line. Notice we can look at the domain of these curves. So for this domain here, we can see that we're going very high up and also very down low in the y in our range. And we do not cut off our range here for x either. So we can say that our domain is from minus infinity to infinity, and our range is also from minus infinity to infinity. However, it looks like we might have something going on at 0 here, where it goes to minus infinity and plus infinity. We have a hole, but we will discuss this in future, in more advanced videos. If we look at the first curve here, we can see our domain. We cut off our domain here at -7 and 7, so this is a different type of behavior. Here our domain and range are finite. So this is it for this video on looking at functions again and at their domains and ranges and using them to identify whether it is a function or not. So if this video was helpful, please like. If it was not, please comment below, and I hope to see you again in the next video.